Hello and welcome to another episode of the Asian Seller Podcast. I'm your host, Meghla Bhardwaj, and today's topic is PPC. It's so important, right? Once you start selling on Amazon, there's no way that you can avoid doing PPC. And to talk about PPC, I have with me Ritu Java from PPC Ninja. Hi, Ritu. How are you?
Hi, Meghla. How are you? Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much for joining me over here today. So, Ritu, we've known each other for a few years now, I think from Global Sources Summit.
Yes,
and
years.
yes.
Yeah.
So you've had a very exciting journey, and you've been involved in the e-commerce industry for quite some time. So we'll talk a little bit about your story and your experience with PPC. But what we're going to do today in the podcast is basically you're going to share a blueprint for managing PPC for anybody, whether they're new to Amazon or they're even experienced, because PPC is a very complicated kind of aspect of e-commerce, and not everybody gets it. So super excited to learn more about your strategies. So first of all, Ritu, tell us about yourself and your background, and how did you get involved in e-commerce in the first place?
Yeah, I remember about 10 years ago, I wanted to have my own store online, and I was at the time creating jewelry. So I was a jewelry designer, which was like a side hobby because my main profession was always in software and technology. So I was doing jewelry on the side. And I got into, online sales with Etsy. So I started my own Etsy store and had to learn or had to teach myself everything about, running a store, marketing myself, writing a blog, creating YouTube videos. So the whole range of things that go with being an entrepreneur, wearing multiple hats. But fast forward to about 3 years ago, I got another kind of degree in data, and I got really interested in learning how to use large amounts of data and at scale and help businesses improve their advertising. So that's where that's what brought me to PPC Ninja. And PPC Ninja is a software for managing your Amazon ads, and we also do manage services. So I personally manage 6, 7, and 8-figure sellers accounts, and I enjoy it very much.
Okay, awesome. Great. Okay, so tell us about this blueprint that you mentioned. So first of all, what types of campaigns should a seller set up when they are launching a product on Amazon?
Right. Yeah. So just to give you just like a perspective of like what exactly is happening on Amazon, in 2020, it is mostly now a pay-to-play platform. Like almost all sellers will kind of agree with that. Gone are the days where you would just put up a listing and get lots of traffic and organic traffic. It's hard. So you have to pay your way to get visibility, like to be on to be ranked on page one. And I know that a lot of people go through the black hat route, try to rank and do all kinds of things, search term manipulation and stuff like that, which Amazon doesn't like. So PPC is actually the safest, most kind of blessed way in a sense by Amazon. They won't mess with you if you're using their platform because it serves their needs also. So first of all, it is a pay-to-play platform pretty much now. And then the second thing I want to say is that it is a jungle of distractions. I mean, in the sense that if you as a shopper yourself try to buy anything on Amazon, you will be bombarded with all kinds of alternative options, like your search feed will be mixed with stuff that Amazon thinks is relevant. It could be a cheaper product, a better product, something that has more sales history, or somehow is selling more because Amazon's algorithms are they're tuned to sell more, right? So therefore it's almost like a jungle, and you see a lot of suggestions for other products that can stray your shoppers away. So how do you kind of manage this reality, these two realities that exist on Amazon as a seller? So there's there's so many different types of ads that Amazon provides now to sellers that, if you, if you had all the luxury in the world to jump on all these different ad types, it would be like a perfect scenario, because wherever, your shoppers go, they will see ads selling your product. And, the more you expose yourself on Amazon, the more likelihood, just a mathematical, calculation, that the more you will end up selling. However, it's easy to quickly burn through your money, your cash, if you're not setting things up correctly, or if you're waiting too long on a certain type of conversion and it's not happening. So it's all about being super reactive and super responsive to data, because ultimately, with PPC, what you're doing is you're paying for data. And if you can't do the second part of it, which is study that data and react to it, respond to it with changes quick enough, then you will, end up burning through your budgets, and won't get to the result that you're looking for. So, which is why, we've been experimenting with so many different ad types, and there's tons of materials out there on the internet, people explaining how you can set up your sponsored product campaigns. I mean, there's intricate methodologies that we probably don't need to get into right now, but just to say that there's like at least 3 types of ads that most people have access to. So there is the sponsored product ads, or sponsored products ads, that are mostly shown on search results page, based on keywords or shopper search terms that are entered into the Amazon search bar. And then there is sponsored brands ads, which are, either banner ads that you see right up at the top of the page, or they could be in the form of video ads that are kind of interspersed, on the search results page. And then the third type of ad is more new, and it's kind of still in beta for a lot of people, but it's called the sponsored display ad. So these are the 3 broad categories of ads that you have access to. But
So
within those,
sponsored display ads are the ads at the top of the page where you can promote your brand, right? Is it that one?
That's sponsored brand ads. Those are sponsored brands, yeah. So sponsored display is another type of ad, which is showing up on and off Amazon both. So you can actually,
got it. So retargeting, you're doing retargeting, right?
Yeah. So it's important to note that the first 2 types of ads, as sponsored products and sponsored brands, those are kind of based on what people search. Whereas the sponsored display ad is very much, determined by people's behavior, like their shopping behavior. Like if they've either visited a certain page recently, or they've clicked on certain ads that are similar to yours, or they have clicked on competitors' pages. So Amazon has that information. So it uses shopper behavior as a means to bring you traffic that you wouldn't have even thought of. So targeted searches are one type, where you've already done the thinking of keywords or products. You've already laid those kind of traps in place. But with sponsored display, it's almost like Amazon is going and giving you some more leverage by giving you access to the behavior data, which we don't normally get to see. So those are the 3, at a broad level, those 3 types of ads that exist.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, and within those, Meghla, there's so many different variants that it's a lot to learn, and which is why we also, PPC Ninja also offers like a mastermind course, and we'll come back to that towards the end. But I just want to say that when you're trying to launch a new product on Amazon, definitely keep aside some amount of your budget to just create multiple ads. And I'm going to just share what we do at PPC Ninja when we're creating new ads for new campaigns. We have 10 that we always
in terms of budget, like what percentage of our budget, overall budget should be allocated to PPC. Like when we're starting out, let's say I have $10,000 to start with. Then of course I have, my product cost and my whatever shipping cost, everything. So approximately how much of that should I reserve for PPC to launch that product?
Right. So yeah, so I think the budget question is a little trickier because it
Okay.
requires a little bit of backward math. And so
Okay.
maybe I can share some tips on how you can come up with reasonable numbers for different types
Yeah.
of ad types. Um, so let me do this. Let me go over the 10 ad types that we recommend starting a product with, a
Okay.
launch with. And then within those, I can share a little bit about how I view the whole idea of budgeting.
Okay. That sounds good.
Okay, cool. So the first set of ads that we recommend people always create is the auto campaign, which is a no-brainer. Like most people will understand and agree that auto campaigns are the broad net that you cast and kind of get traffic or let Amazon do the work because they have access to all these keywords that are hanging out in their funnels, and they kind of match the search terms with the keywords that are existing on your listing. So we recommend having two auto campaigns for each product. And the difference between these two is the first one is based on keyword targets, and the second one is based on product targets. So within auto campaigns themselves, there's two types, and we call them so there's close match, loose match for keywords, and then there's substitutes and complements for products. Making sure that you have at least two different ads that capture any kind of matches that Amazon can bring you is super essential. It's almost like a fundamental sort of campaign structure that we always recommend. And then there's the manual campaigns. And what is a manual campaign? A manual campaign is where you've already done the research on keywords, right? And you've figured out what the keywords are. You've got like broad keywords, like short tail keywords, or you've got long tail keywords, which are pretty precise. And you want to structure them into, I would say, roughly 3 to 4 manual campaigns. And the way people structure their manual campaigns is different. It depends on what strategy they're following. But generally speaking, people would have about 3 to 4 manual campaigns in order to make sure that all those keywords get enough exposure. Because if you try to combine everything into one manual campaign, what ends up happening is that very few of those ever get any traction, and then the rest of them just get ignored.
Okay.
It's so funny that Amazon's algorithm kind of favor early data points. So let's say you have I'm just taking a random example. Let's say you've decided that you can find 1,000 keywords, right? 1,000 keywords for your product. And it could be slight variations, the keywords are structured in a different phrase order. It could just be things that you've maybe research from all kinds of tools like this, Helium 10, there's Sonar, there's so many. So you've got 1,000 keywords. Now, how do you structure these so that they can all get enough exposure? Some people would, separate out high volume keywords from the low volume ones because, each campaign has a certain amount of budget. And if you put high volume keywords together with low volume keywords, then the high volume keywords end up eating the budget, and the low volume keywords, even though they're good, they won't get any traction, and they'll just get sidelined, and there will be a point where it stops getting any impressions at all. So knowing this is important because then you can structure your campaigns accordingly. So that's just a general guideline I want to share, because every campaign has its own allocated budget that keywords will kind of use up very quickly if it's high volume. So those are the next set of campaigns. And then we always run a manual category targeting ad, which is basically, so there's, let's say, a category, let's take baby. Okay, so baby is a huge category, right? if your product is one of the baby related products, you would like your ad to be shown to anyone who is looking in that category, right? Even though you're not going to go and research keywords that are remotely related to yours. You might not do that, but if you just allow your ad to be visible or shown within that category, there's a chance that you might start getting some attention and some conversions. And so then you want to be watching your data, because once you see products that led to your products, then you know that Amazon is creating these associations between these two different products. And then what happens is that you've opened up this funnel, and then you want to tap into it. You want to give it more permission. You want to give Amazon more permission to come through that route, right? So then you harvest those products that Amazon is giving you data on, and then you create your own separate campaigns that are specifically targeted to those. So that's a strategy for harvesting product targets that we use quite a bit, for which you need like to have that funnel set up. And that's called category targeting. And then I would also set up 2 manual product targeting campaigns. And what this is that you know your competitors, right? When you launch a product, you already know, let's say 5 or 10 top competitors in your category, or with very related kind of product offerings. You want to make sure that your ad shows up on their pages, which means that when people are looking at their detail page, they also are given that distraction that Amazon is so good at providing. So your ad, if it shows up just in time, I would just call it, that's the best kind of conversion. Why? Because you're getting qualified leads. Anyone who's on that page has already checked off the I'm interested in this page box. And so if they are interested in that page and you show your ad on their page, then you're further down in the funnel. And so it's a good conversion because it's super qualified, and you want that kind of thing, instead of having let's say that ad showing up on the main page where someone may or may not be interested in it. Having it show up on a related product means that you've got a good lead there. So I usually set up 2 manual campaigns for product targeting. One would be quite closely related to our products, and one would be maybe loosely related to our products. And I would do the research with tools like Helium 10 again, or reverse ASIN tools that you can find, and come up with those associations yourself. And make sure that you maybe give like a low bid to those campaigns, but they're there, like you have them when you're launching a product on Amazon. And then the last type of campaign, which I recommend always having, is the sponsored display for product targeting. It's a very new type of ad that's just come out. And again, it's similar to the one I just explained, which is just a sponsored products manual product targeting ad. Sorry, it's getting kind of complex.
Yeah, you have to really focus to follow through.
Exactly. However, that just shows the reality. Oh my goodness, we have to juggle through all these choices. There's so much that's going on. But what this type of ad does, the sponsored display for product targeting, is that it gives you a prime placement right under bullet points. It's really a nice placement, and it's kind of separate from the carousel that you normally see at the bottom of a search page, or sorry, a detail page. It's got its own like spot there. It's like without any other distractions. So its conversions are much better in our studies. So definitely having that type of ad also is a good way of making sure that you're getting traffic from your competitors. So that's the easy way to ride on the wave. So what I've done here is I've just shared, and I'm going to summarize it. So I'm saying 2 auto campaigns, 4 manual campaigns for keyword targeting, 1 manual for category targeting, 2 manual for sponsored product targeting, and 1 sponsored display product targeting. So that's a total of 10 campaigns that we normally start all our launches with.
Right. How have you come up with these numbers? I mean, why 4 manual keyword targeting campaigns? Why not 3 or 2.
Exactly. Yeah. No, there is no, in fact, this is just our baseline. We actually double it after we've learned from the
Okay.
data. Yeah. This is just the baseline because you want to make sure that, you've got some rule of thumb going there based on our experience. We just have the structure in place. But once we start getting in data, you could actually harvest keywords and product targets and pump them back into these campaigns. But at a certain point, you'll hit your limits. You don't want to stuff these campaigns with too many targets. So at that point, you start creating more campaigns that have their own separate budget. So this is just the starting point. And some of our products, actually mature ones, they go up to maybe 15 or even 20 different campaigns. If you and some people do more testing with like highly targeted keywords that they want to rank for. They would probably even create a separate campaign just for that. And they might create a separate campaign just for your running defensive campaigns or just for your branded keywords. So there's a lot that you can grow, but this is the bare minimum in our study and research.
Right. So would you generally start with an auto campaign and then let it run for a certain number of days or weeks and then start the others, or would you
No,
start?
we don't waste any time there because
Okay.
the engine starts to collect data very quickly. So
Mm-hmm.
our strategy is to go like bang, like we just start all 10 together. And
Oh.
it's the reality is that you might actually get a few of these campaigns bringing you data faster than others, but
Mm-hmm.
we cannot predict that in the beginning. Like typically auto campaigns and category campaigns tend to give you data faster because Amazon is working on your behalf. They're going and grabbing the data for you, and then you learn, and then you can start moving keywords and products around. But if you wait too long, like if let's say you start an auto campaign, and a lot of people do this, like they wait for data to come in and then they react to it. It's just slowing the process down. And Amazon is all about run rates and sales velocity, and there's a honeymoon period that people talk of, which is not documented, but there
Yeah.
is a benefit of doubt that you get in the beginning. So why not take full advantage of that? And we've realized that this method allows us to get a really good chance at success early on, instead of waiting for. And I know that people who are starting out, they've got all their hopes pinned on this thing being successful, right? And so why compromise? Like why compromise and go slow when you've decided that you want to make Amazon a success? Yeah, I would recommend doing it this way so you have a good experience. I mean, of course, if you're just doing Amazon as an experiment, a throwaway experiment, then pick your pace. But if you're serious, if you really want your launch to be successful, you've invested time in it, energy, then put your whole effort into it and go whole hog.
Right. And so also does more, if you're getting more sales via PPC, does that also have an impact on your organic ranking and organic sales? So over time, do you see an increase in organic sales if your PPC is doing well?
Yeah, it has many benefits. So yeah, definitely that first one is absolutely true. Having more PPC sales will push your organic sales, and it's going to start things to move. And then the other thing that PPC will do for you is that it's going to give you quick access to maybe sales and then reviews, because you want reviews to come in. Like when you're starting a product, you don't want to have to wait a long time before reviews come in, because there's some magic numbers that people throw out there, 15, 21. Having 15 reviews minimum is good to start that momentum of the flywheel starts to move, and it's really good for the product to take off organically. But to get to that point, you have to do certain things, right? And that's where we're banking on PPC, unless you're doing other stuff like things that Amazon won't approve of. But
Yeah.
people have other ways of generating reviews. But if you're doing it the purely white hat way, this method will also ensure that you get your first reviews or your multiple initial reviews, so that your organic ranking can take off on its own. So you need to give it almost like that support in the beginning with PPC.
Okay, interesting. So let's talk about budgets now, because that's
Yeah.
another very sticky point, and it's very confusing for people to, like determine how much budget to allocate. So first of all, when we're starting out, how much budget should we, or what percentage of overall budget should we just allocate for PPC?
Right. Yeah. So the one thing that I want to say is that the um, the amount of budget you have per campaign
Mhm.
is closely tied to the to two factors. One, conversion rate, like how many sales come out of how many clicks. So let's say if your conversion rate is 10%, which on average we just use that number as a thumb rule because yeah, it seems to be the average across Amazon, a 10% conversion rate, which means that you need 10 clicks to make one sale. So if you want one sale a day, you've got to be able to give Amazon the budget for at least 10 clicks. And then if your cost per click, that's the second factor. If your cost per click for your category or that type of keyword is around $1, then guess what? You need at least $10 of clicks to make one sale, right? That's the math. So
Right.
it's all about doing the backward math to figuring out how much budget you need to allocate. And typically a campaign, even though we assume that there's like a 10% conversion rate, in reality, it's going to be much lower because your product is just launching, right? So assume that it's less than 5% conversion rate in the beginning, and so if that's the case, you'll need maybe 20 clicks to have one sale, and 20 clicks is equal of $20 on the average, right? So let's say $1 per click would be $20 per sale. um, Once things start to move, then it becomes better and better, and then you pay less and less because Amazon has enough data about your product, about the relevancy of that keyword to your product, and so then you end up paying less. But that doesn't happen the first day. It's going to happen down the line when you've done enough like proving to Amazon. So that's how the budget calculation usually happens. We tend to start all our campaigns with a minimum of $30 to $40 per campaign. That's typically per day.
Per
Per
day.
day, yeah,
Mm,
per day,
okay.
yeah. And it doesn't mean that you're going to use up that $30 or $40. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you're giving Amazon permission to spend that much. And if you set your bidding strategy to down only, which basically means that if a click is worth, or if you're willing to spend $1 per click, Amazon will not spend more than $1 per click. It'll always be less than $1 per click. So if you set that strategy in the beginning, that'll ensure that you're staying within that daily budget. But do the math on that. Like if it's a $40 per day kind of expense that you're imagining, then over a period of 1 month, that quickly adds up to quite a bit.
Yeah.
Right? It's a lot. And then what we're suggesting is setting up these 10 different campaigns. So you're like, what are you going to,
I
like, that's a
know.
lot of money for, so the way to look at it is slightly different. A budget mentality will be restricting for most people in the sense that it will prevent you from taking off even, right? Whereas a flywheel mentality would help you to react faster to changes or to the data, the early data points that you're seeing, and responding to that will be able to help you manage your budgets more effectively. So it's not like you're going to end up spending $40 a day for 30 days times 10. It's not like that. It's
Yeah.
you have to be on top of it. Like Amazon gives you data so quickly, like within 72 hours you will have enough data about sales, impressions, clicks, all that stuff. Never has it been this easy to know what's going on. Like, in the past, advertising used to be, okay, set up a billboard, I don't know, or have put an
TV
ad in
ad.
the paper, and then you have no idea what's going to happen. Whereas we are so lucky because within 3 days we start getting so much data, and you have the opportunity to turn off keywords that are not converting. You have the opportunity to hone in on stuff that is converting, give it a little bit of a boost. And so that's the way PPC management requires attention from sellers, so that they don't blow through their budget. It's not like a set it and forget it. You're involved in the first several days and almost looking at your PPC data. I'm like looking at it in a few hours, like I'm sitting on it, and of course there's a data delay and all that stuff. But yeah, it's interesting that Amazon has changed things for advertisers so much that we have access to data fast. So why not take advantage of it? So I think that's maybe kind of long way of saying, your budget actually should not be the focus. The focus is the flywheel, right? How to get that flywheel going, so that you can start kind of shepherding your PPC in the right direction. And the reason why we have these 10 different campaigns is that you don't know what's going to work. Like when you're starting off, you don't know which of these campaigns is going to go and fetch you the best results, because there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that you cannot see, but Amazon's algorithms bring you that data pretty fast. Setting low bids on some of the broad kind of like category targeting or product targeting, having a low bid, decent budget strategy might work fine, because you're not spending for most of my product targeting ads, I don't set more than 30 to 40 cents per click. That's my max bid per click. I don't set more than that in the beginning, because I want to see what's working and what's not. Once things start to move, and Amazon has given me enough data points to say that these 4 ASINs are highly relevant to yours, then I up the bid. And then I make sure that I'm definitely bidding on those, because my conversion rate is so good. So looking at your metrics, setting up all these different types of ads and staying on top of things, that's the way to kind of make sure that PPC works for you and you're not working for PPC. Yep.
And making Jeff Bezos richer.
Oh my God, richer. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. So when somebody is doing product research and trying to find products to sell on Amazon, is there a way to find out what is the approximate PPC bid for the keywords that we are looking at, to determine if this is like too high, this bid is just too high, I'll probably need like $2 per bid, I should maybe stay away from this product? Or is that needed at all?
It's a great question. I think you can do a little bit of that research yourself by just putting in a product and then just trying to see. Amazon gives you suggested bids and suggested bid ranges, so you can always find out like how much how much is the asking rate for a certain keyword.
And can we do that even if we don't have a product listed on Amazon? Like, can we do?
Well, you do need to have a product listed now. You do need to have a product listed, and you can find out like what that is. And I'm not 100% sure if you can just put in any product and see. I know on the AMS side you can actually put anybody's product, and you can find out what the range is. But on the Seller Central side, that might be a bit of a challenge. So. I think if you just assume like $1 or so on an average, like just a rule of thumb, that should be okay for the most part. And some categories are very competitive, like supplements, or some categories will you will have to fight for it. But it doesn't mean that all keywords in that category are expensive. No, it's just a few, short tail keywords that are going to be the most expensive. You can always find keywords that are affordable. So that's the whole challenge of keyword research, which is to find all the keywords that you can bid on, and they're not going to be a very high ACoS. ACoS is a term, is just a metric to find out the effectiveness of your bid to how much you're actually being able to earn through that. So I would say it's an iterative process that it never ends. It's almost like, okay, you have some idea in the beginning when you're doing product research, but you can always find long tail keywords that fit your budget in that sense, with the backward math.
Okay. So let's talk about continuing our conversation on budgets and bids. So let's say we started the auto campaign. So what I mean, how should we put in the bids? Like, should
Mhm.
we, because Amazon has some suggested bids, right? So should we just leave it at that, or should we put in our own bids, and how to do all of those settings, like, up
Yeah.
and down and all of those things? Like, there's so many different
Right.
options
Yeah.
available over there. Like, when
Yeah.
you go in the first time, you're like, what is all this?
Yeah, so it's fun because it's all data driven.
Yeah.
If for auto campaigns, of course, there's only one bid that you can set, which is, no matter what, no matter what search term Amazon picks for you, it's just going to be one bid for that whole auto campaign. So if you set it at 50 cents or $1, then every match that you're going to get will cost you, or every click you will be charged that amount, or lower depending on your bidding strategy. That's typically the starting point. Now for manual campaigns, you have more control because you can say how much you are willing to pay. And so once you have all your keywords in place, you can decide how much you think each keyword is worth, and you can start with a baseline, and then based on the data, you can either increase it or decrease it. And what you basically do is you have a target ACoS in mind, right? How much are you willing to spend in order to get a sale? And if your keywords are generating sales within that target ACoS, then that means it's a good keyword, and you want to continue monetizing that, tapping into its potential. And so you might consider increasing your bids for that keyword so that you get more impressions and therefore you get more sales, right? Whereas some keywords would clearly not work for you because either that market is too competitive and each click is costing you more, or it could be that Amazon's data is proving to Amazon that those keywords aren't as relevant to your product. And so you're going to have to pay more in order to win those sales. So every keyword almost like starts off equal, but then, kind of diverges off into its own story. Like it has its own story going forward. And you're just looking at that story and adjusting it, giving it like the encouragement to, continue to bring you results. So that's typically how I look at keywords, and we monitor them. However, you need software to do this because if you
Yeah.
if you're going to sit there and look at every keyword, you'll go crazy. More white hair.
Yeah, you've got to download those files. I mean, and it's like there are 10
Yeah,
different files, and you have to individually download each of them, and then like look at each the data, and you don't even know
yeah.
which file to download, right? I mean, there's search terms
There's,
report, there's whatever.
yep, there's
And
lots.
I also, so for auto campaigns, I read somewhere that one strategy is to bid really low, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah,
10 cents or even less than that, so that Amazon is forced to look for long tail keywords
yeah.
that, that where there's not a lot of competition. And,
Mm-hmm.
you can easily get those sales. Maybe there are fewer of those keywords, but then there's not too much competition over there. So is that
Yeah.
something that works as well?
Totally. I mean, there's this a strategy that a lot of people try, which is a catch-all campaign. When they have like more than one product, they
Mhm.
can combine all of them at a very low bid and just let it run, and it keeps fetching you more and more keywords, and then you can harvest them and put them into other campaigns. So yeah, that's totally a strategy that, it can totally work. And of course, it also depends on, again, how competitive a category is, and if someone wants the quick results with auto campaigns, then they might bid higher. And within auto campaigns also, there's a little bit of tweaking that you can do. Like I said, there was 4 types of sub categories within an auto campaign. There is a loose match, a close match, a substitutes, and a complement. So there's 4 types within that, right? So what is loose match? Loose match is where Amazon will go and find you things that are loosely related to the keywords on your page. a close match would be something that is closely related to your page. So even within these two, you can see there's a shade of difference. Like a loosely matched keyword could be, you know, it could give you sales that you never thought of. And you know, having different bids for these two types can also give you a better return on investment depending on which one's working for you. You know, so looking at a low bid definitely is one strategy, but then also separating your campaigns by these subtypes can be another strategy to go find all these connections that we can't see, but Amazon can. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So to summarize, everything that, is there anything else that you wanted to add? First of all, you know, we've talked about the
No.
different types of
Yep.
campaigns. We've talked a
We
little bit
talked.
about the
Mhm.
budgets.
Yes.
So do you want to maybe just summarize everything
Yeah,
that you've, like the
absolutely.
entire blueprint in a couple of minutes?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, it's just like there's so much to learn here,
Yeah.
and there's so much that Amazon is changing. Every month they're coming out with new and improved ways of reaching customers on Amazon. So yeah, just to summarize, I would say that you've got to put in a PPC strategy when you're launching, because without that, you're not going to get the visibility that you're hoping for. So that's one. The second is that Amazon is a jungle of distractions. And if you're not there, then someone else is taking your spot. So you've got to be there, visible in different placements. And that's where we come to this, diversified ad strategy, where you're not just only focusing on the search results page. We're also looking at other placements like the detail page view, jumping on other listings so that your ad is shown closer to theirs. And so this diversified ad strategy will make sure that people see your ads at the right time and in the right places. And then we talked about a little bit of budgets and how the budget mentality is kind of maybe not the right mentality for Amazon. The feedback loop is the more relevant one, and the flywheel that we set, and making sure that we're reacting and responding to early data points, and reacting and honing in on stuff that's working. And to summarize, I would also like to say that you do need some sort of software as you kind of get into the weeds and start to look at this data, because it can get unmanageable pretty quickly. So yeah, I mean, you can be downloading those reports forever and still not be able to piece everything together, stitch the whole stuff together and react fast enough, because what you need on Amazon is speed. Like that's something you absolutely need. And so software can help do that. And which is why, like I was telling you in the beginning, PPC Ninja software allows you to look at your search terms without downloading the CSV files. It's all kind of through the API. We're able to, pull your data in and present it to you in a way that you can take quick actions. You do bulk actions with an Excel-like interface, which helps you stay on top of your PPC management efforts. So yeah, that's kind of the summary.
Yeah. Sounds good. It's good for, somebody who's just starting out. At least they have, something to start with. Okay, so tell us also about your mastermind. I thought that was very interesting. So you have a 6-week program that's entirely free to attend, right? So tell us about that.
Yeah, so we have the 6-week mastermind program, and we started it with like really small groups of 10 to 20 people, where we meet once a week, and we get to hear other perspectives. Like there's so many different strategies, right? And things are evolving. It's so dynamic. And so it's, I'm trying to make it so I'm not the only one speaking. Like I'm trying to, involve other people and like, share your experience with this type of ad, or share your learnings, so we have lots of opportunities for people to interact with each other, so that it's a live in-person kind of thing. And we cover topics like week 1 we cover sponsored products, week 2 sponsored brands, week 3 gosh, I can't remember. Anyway, there's like the whole curriculum. So we cover like 6 different weeks and 6 different topics, which are kind of broad in a sense, but we go pretty deep. Like we go into the fundamentals, we touch all aspects, all important aspects of running those types of campaigns, so that people have enough to try before the next week, and then the next week they come and present, or just share anything that comes to mind. So yeah, it's kind of a lively group. We've done it 3 times already. This is our 4th mastermind starting, and we plan to continue offering these. So what we also offer along with this mastermind is free access to PPC Ninja software. Throughout the duration of the mastermind, you get access to so you have something, because we'll be sharing examples from the software, and we'll maybe show you how to use it in context. And and at the end of it, they're free to continue or not. It's totally up to them. One thing to add, actually 2 things. One thing to add is that the API is not out yet for India. So if there's any sellers that are only selling on in India, then the advertising API is not out yet. So our software doesn't have it yet. It's because Amazon hasn't released that yet. But all the other marketplaces like North America, Europe, Japan, Australia, they're all there. So your data will be pulled in and you can see it. And the beauty of this using PPC Ninja software is that we don't make changes on your behalf. So nothing bad is going to happen. Like in the sense that if you're afraid that joining the PPC Ninja will affect whatever you're doing on Seller Central, no, it won't. You can continue to make your changes on Seller Central and continue to run your PPC as before, but having access to the software can also give you analytics and smart operations that you can do if you choose to. Our software won't go and mess with anything on your end without you actually doing it. So that's the other thing I wanted to mention.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And then you also have a special offer for the Asian seller community.
I do, absolutely. So the special offer is that even after, once they're done with the mastermind with us, if they want to continue as paying subscribers, then we will give them an additional 50% off their first month. And so if you want to claim that offer, just email us at support@ppcninja.com. And in the subject line, just write Asian 50. So that's going to give you the 50% off for the Asian Seller podcast.
Awesome. So approximately what is the price, like the subscription fee for PPC Ninja, and what exactly is included? Is it just the software, or do people also get some consultation, or is that separate?
Yeah, so it is an ASIN-based model, which means that if you have under 20 ASINs, then the monthly fee is $49 US dollars. And then we have 3 tiers. So depending on how many ASINs you have, the tiers are different. The consultation is that basically we have a very responsive support team, and if you have any questions, we're always there to answer them. But other than that, we don't really offer, other than the mastermind, of course. The mastermind is a good way to ease your way into PPC Ninja, learn about it if you like it, or if you don't, that's fine too, because you've at least learned the concepts, and then you can use it for other other software. So that's and then the other thing we also offer is a lot of educational material. Like every week we publish a blog post, which is pretty detailed. Like we touch a lot of tactics and strategy, things that are working. We share data. So that's the added advantage, which you can of course avail of even if you don't join PPC Ninja. That's there on our website.
Okay, awesome. And for the mastermind, what time is it held? Because is it because you're based in North America, right? So
I'm based in Vancouver, Canada, but what we've done in the past is that I've had to wake up at an unearthly hour to support the participants. Because the first mastermind we did, we had like a whole gamut. Like it was touching Europe, Australia, and Pacific coast, and I was like waking up at 5 a.m. But then we thought, hey, let's not do it this way. Let's separate by geography. So once people sign up, I will group them according to a decent time, so that
Okay.
it's not like they're going to be waking up in the middle of the night to attend the mastermind.
Okay. So
Yeah,
you
hopefully
you
we can
you might
confirm.
have to do 2 sessions a week or something like
Yeah,
that for
yeah,
each group.
exactly.
So
So
yeah.
yeah, just to make the numbers work out for me, because this is an in-person live, mastermind. I will need to wait until I have a certain number in order to make it, worth my time.
Okay.
So which is why I'm really, trying to spread the word and see how I can get more people onboarded. Because even if you, like I said, even if you don't go ahead with PPC Ninja, this is, like, I think, really great. People have given feedback and said they would pay $1,000 for this easily, so in the end we're offering it free. So this is your chance, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even the strategy that you presented, earlier, the blueprint, I think that in itself is worth a lot, because if somebody just starts out, just goes into the dashboard, and I've done it myself, right? That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
once you're there, you're totally lost. You're like, okay, what should I do
Yeah,
here? But
yeah, yeah.
the steps that you presented and the entire, strategy, I think that's definitely worth a lot. So
Mhm.
for the mastermind, would you suggest, I mean, is this for new sellers as well? So of course they have to be, selling, but if somebody just has like one product, they've just started, it's for
So
them as well, right? And advanced sellers too, would you say?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So we've had agencies also join the mastermind. So a
Okay.
few agency joined, and they, because they run a lot of, their clientele is also kind of varied, newbies and experienced sellers, but they're managing their accounts. So I think these topics are pretty generic, and I wouldn't, restrict anyone. The only thing I want to say is that if you have a little bit of experience with PPC, it would definitely help, because otherwise
Hmm.
it'll be like, oh, this is beyond me, the timing is not right. It's good to have at least an idea of the very basics of PPC, like what is PPC, what is a sponsored product. If you're past that stage, and if you can appreciate those things, then I think it'll be super useful for you.
Okay.
Generally, we have been asking that people have, touched PPC at least for 6 months.
Hmm.
But I don't know how, if your audience is like just getting into it, or, it totally depends. Maybe they can just mention that in the questionnaire that we have for them, and we can combine them with people who are similar.
Okay. So if anybody is interested, then there is a
Yeah,
link that we will post
there
in
is.
the show notes on the website. So you can go to theasianseller.com and look for Ritu's interview over there, and then go into the podcast section, and you will be able to find the link. But otherwise, the link over here is ppcninja.com/PPC Mastermind. That's the URL to go to sign up for the mastermind. Ritu, also tell us about your management services.
Yeah. Yeah, so we actually have two models. One is done for you, and one done with you. And so, when we start working with a new client, we try to do the done with you approach first, so that there's a little bit of trust that's required, right, before we completely take on somebody's account and start managing it.
So
So we
this is
tend,
for
yeah.
bigger sellers, right? Like 6-figure, 7-figure sellers, not for newbies, just to clarify that.
Yeah, well, the done with you services, we've even had people who are pretty new take on our services for a very limited kind of goal that they want to achieve. So let's say they just want a PPC strategy, right? So that's a microservice on its own. Like we can totally do that for them. I mean, they do it, they do the work, but we do the consulting. So it's like an hourly rate that we can help them as well. For some of the larger sellers, we try to do a PPC audit first to see where their account is at, if it needs to be, completely revamped. We don't recommend that ever. But if there's a lot of problems with it, or if there is incremental things that we can do to help them, achieve a higher, return on investment. So we typically start with a microservice, which is a short engagement done with them, and we show them our process so that they're familiar with it. And if they want at the end of that to take our recommendations and just run with it themselves, that's fine. But if they, want to hand it over to us, we can do that as well. So once it's, a done for you service, which means we handle their account, it tends to be for up to 10 ASINs, we have a certain rate, and it can be like thousands because we don't have the capacity for it.
Yeah.
So it's an ASIN based model, and so it's one by one, and it's totally dependent on their current PPC level and status, and we can give them a quote.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Well, Ritu, thank you so much for your time. It's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing so much, giving such a lot of insight and strategies.
Yeah, I love it. No, this is something that is really close to my heart. I'm so excited to talk about it. And I really appreciate you, Megla, for, connecting so many people in the community and bringing people on. I really appreciate this talk today with you.
Thanks a lot, Ritu. All right.
Thank you.
Take care. See you later.
Bye. Take care.